Alex, and then there were two.
Yes, yes, sir. We're
Just you
doing
and me, baby. We're the only one. We're
we're-
the only people surviving at the end of this year. All right, Alex.
We're really doing it, buddy. We're really doing it. We're really doing it. The Prize Picks show.
It's our favorite. Is it, Alex? You got to admit, of all the, if there was like a, companies do like these team building exercises and trust falls and all these like cockamamie things where it's like, let's do a retreat, right?
Yeah.
If they just gave employees like Prize Picks deposits every month, like wouldn't that be the ultimate as far as building a team is concerned?
Well, you got to figure it's like what, like when when Michael Scott took Dunder Mifflin all out to that beach and they had to walk across coals and stuff, like it's like you spend a lot of money in transportation and you do all, you probably spending like $300-400 an employee. Just toss that thing into Prize Picks, let them all get together and talk about their picks. That'll be a team building exercise that'll last through the whole year, especially with Prize Picks. I can't believe today onwards we're already back to a Flex Friday, to where we're going to be able to put in our predictive play, and if it for over the course of the weekend, and if that thing doesn't hit, you just get your money right back. But it's a free shot at it's a free $20 shot at $500, and if your $20 misses, you can just get the money right back. You can deposit in Prize Picks and literally just deposit $100. You'll get $100 free dollars on there by using promo code Orangebloods, and so you have $200 sitting in your Prize Picks account, and you literally can just play on Flex Fridays and never even risk $1 of that. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but it's crazy, but it's true. So,
hey, it might be the thing you and I do in the off season, considering we love football, but we're not as well versed with the basketball, as well versed with the baseball. So you and I might be Flex Fridaying it up until next college football season, right?
Yeah, no, but come to me for the my favorite time of year for Prize Picks is the combine.
Oh, really?
The combine, because they have the more or less is up for the 40 times for the
really?
Dude, and there's a giant edge. Like I remember George Pickens, his more or less on his 40, they had it like they had him like a 4, 5, 6 or something like this. I'm like, oh gosh, Pickens, are you kidding me? Really? There's all kinds of edge for that stuff. So there'll be little events that we can look at and things. But yeah, man, I won't be grinding any of this stuff NBA in the NBA streets and things like it's been for college and like it's been for NFL.
So what do you think? So I'm trying to think of something that if I put up, if I said 4.38 on Xavier Worthy's 40 time,
less. I think it'd be less.
What's the number that would make you kind of shrug, like, oh my God, I don't know.
4.33.
Okay, 4.33.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes and runs like a John Ross kind of, runs one of these John Ross, Curtis Samuel, 4.30s, 4.29, this kind of thing. It's like we've seen it. We've seen it in games where he's just where Worthy, when he's been totally healthy, is just at another gear. Now, I don't know what his exact. He seemed like he was. What did you think about in the not the national championship, in the CFP semifinal? Did you think that he looked significantly hobbled? I don't think he looked significally hobbled, but I'm not sure he looked 100%.
But he almost took one to the house, though, Alex. Like he had a punt return where a guy tripped him up at the last second, and that guy doesn't trip him up. He takes it to the house, and so that's where I was like, he looked like Xavier Worthy on that play to me.
Yeah, not quite to me. I think he's got another gear. Like I think that looked like the 4.38 Xavier Worthy that you're talking about. I'm talking about this 4.29 guy that I think that we might see.
I mean, if he does 4.29, I mean, he's cooking with grease at that point, right? I mean, he's that's automatic first rounder at that point. That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, well, it's typically kind of been the case, right?
Yeah.
So like they say that you can't teach that kind of speed, and everybody wants the next Tyreek Hill. But as we've seen with guys like John Ross, it doesn't always work out like that. Right?
What other things will they put on, Alex? I mean, obviously Jonathan Brooks won't be running at the combine or anything to that effect, but it was obviously the Texas running back that's applied. What other categories do they have?
You know what? I think that I've been so busy the last 2 years covering the draft with my guys at Player Profiler and being there at the draft. But I think in previous, because that whole time I'm just working, right? It's just content. But I think before, so it was what I was in Kansas City last year. I was in Vegas the year before. Oh, and I was doing serious stuff. But dude, I think that they have stuff for NFL draft position too.
Oh, wow.
Like for each day. So I think you can pick more or less on like 17.5 where a player's going to go and stuff like that. So
we're going to have Alex, we're going to have fun in the offseason, buddy.
Man. So there's stuff like that. So there'll be plenty of things, but I think mainly for the combine, it's the 40 times that are the main driver. But I think, man, you can click on combine, and I believe that there are other little, there are, how the menu gives you, you can click on receptions or receiving yards. I think there's stuff on there like vertical and all the rest. But it was the 40 times where I'd found the most edge.
Just another Figs reviewer said, Alex, that he hit on tennis yesterday.
Give us your picks. Give us your picks.
I mean, come on, just another Figs review. You gotta let us know. You hit on tennis? Like this is
what do you even bet on? What's that? Like number of serves or number of like aces or scores?
I don't know. You know the ones I've always wanted to do, Alex, on here? You ever see the ones where they have for the gamers? Like I wish I knew something about it. Like it would be like how many kills someone has in a game or something like that.
Yeah.
I know nothing about any of it. But if I
don't even know what they stand for. CSGO, LOL. I guess LOL's League of Legends.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Blake, what is CSGO? Do you have any idea what that is? Blake doesn't even know, and he plays vids. He was talking yesterday about he's excited about this new GTA coming out.
Oh God, yeah. All right, not just I'm gonna go old man here to say I have no clue what the hell you guys are just talked about. So he said aces, and they have a fantasy score for tennis. Yeah, Alex, can you name 5 tennis players in current right now?
Oh no, no. Well, who was the guy who was still playing and he seemed like he was kind of old and he's like the best, but they wouldn't let him play because I'm not gonna get into it. In the Australian Open, that guy?
Yeah, I have no clue. So Alex, the Texas season is over. The Texas season, I don't want to bring down the show. The Texas season is over at this moment, Alex. And I don't think people really want to talk about what happened in the past, and we don't have any more Longhorn things. But I thought, like, hey, it's never too early to start looking ahead to the 24 season, even though it's early. So what we're going to do now is before we get into Washington and Michigan, is why don't we just go ahead and maybe do some way too early predictions here as we record this thing, or we're live, I guess, on January 5th, 2024, which means no one can hold Alice and I to this because we're admitting this is way too early to make any kind of predictions, but we're going to do it for fun and for the show. Right now, Alex, based off of the limited data,
you can hold me to mine until I disavow it, right? Just don't, you know what I'm saying? Because if I'm right, I definitely want to get credit, right?
Okay. But if you're wrong, you definitely you
got it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this, Alex. Let's do the first one. Let's do our way too early records for the Texas Longhorn after the 2024 season. So Texas is going obviously into the SEC. Blake, do you have the schedule around for the 2024 season? Just so I'm sure you've seen it before, Alex, but make sure you have it in front of your head. There you go, Alex. You got Colorado at Michigan. So that's at in Ann Arbor, UTSA, La Monroe, and then you've got everything else. You got the open date before Oklahoma. So the two killers are obviously Michigan and Georgia on there. And you got everybody else. Arkansas is at Arkansas, is a tough one. At Texas A&M, way too early, Alex. But when you look at that, your thought is what for Texas?
9-3.
9-3. Damn,
Yeah.
Alex, you and I are about the same way. All right, go to explain your 9-3.
I'm not sure that these two are going to be losses, but I will just look. Texas is not going to. I mean, they're not going to. They're not going to run the gauntlet in their first year in the SEC. I don't see it happening. And if I'm going to pick two losses that I think are the most likely losses, where Texas feels like Texas probably comes into the at Michigan and at home versus Georgia, maybe not at home versus Georgia. That dude, I could see that being a pick 'em. I mean, depending on how, if we were just basing it based on what happened to end this year, I think Georgia on a neutral site might be a 2. I don't think it would get to 3, but I think they'd be a 2.5 point favorite if the handicap's against Texas. So you figure give Texas the 2 points for home field. Maybe that's about a pick 'em. But who knows by then? I mean, by that point in the season, Georgia, who knows? Texas could already have like 2 losses and Georgia could be undefeated, or Georgia could have some kind of uncharacteristic losses. Texas is undefeated. So I'm not saying that'll be the spread at that point in the season, but I'm just saying as we look at it right now, that's sort of how I see that. Michigan, I think, would pretty obviously be a favorite over Texas, just if we look at it right now. So I look at those two games and I think, all right, so there's probably going to be 2 losses here. And then, gosh, your first year in the SEC, doesn't feel like you stub your toe at maybe at least one other spot, right?
Yeah,
So yeah. I think 3, and would 9-3 be enough to get into the SEC? I think that we'll be talking about Texas as a team that, coming down the stretch will have a chance at a if not an SEC championship, maybe a chance to where Texas is in the discussion now that it's a 12-team playoff next year in the CFP, to have people on pins and needles about whether they can kind of make it in. And in your first year in the SEC, what do you got? I mean, you just want a ticket to that dance, right? Like like we talked about on your show the other day, Elmore. Like you just want to keep getting shots on goal. And I think a 9-3. I mean, we'll have to see how the dynamics of it all works out with the CFP, the Cockamamie selection committee, when it goes to 12 teams, and if there are those more rules. But I think that thinking about I mean, that would be my initial instinct and my initial lean. And I guess as we go through the offseason and learn more about these SEC teams, who they're all bringing back, stuff like that, that's all an analysis that we'll do throughout the offseason, and we'll have a better understanding of Texas and these other teams when we get closer to the season.
Yeah, I'm with you, Alex. And the other one is because, I went to the Arkansas game a couple of years ago and I thought to myself, Arkansas is trash and so on and so forth. But that game, Arkansas seems to get up for whatever reasons. And that's in Arkansas, which is a little bit of hostile environment. Can't ignore that there's 2 rivalry games this year. Oklahoma's always a coin flip every single year. We know that, and we know what happened this year at Texas A&M. There's 2 rivalry games that are on the schedule, so it's a hard ass schedule, Alex. Like when we look at it compared to every other team in the SEC, this is really tough and this is really difficult. But to your point, as far as like the college the playoff committee, 9-3, what the committee has told us, and they showed us this season, Alex, they showed us that you could be 12-0, but if we think there's a better team with a loss behind you, that team is going to get in, right? So at the end of the day, Texas might be sitting at 9-3, and they may be a team that's sitting at 10-2, but the committee has shown you that, hey, if they think that Texas is a better team, Texas is in. Like that's what this committee is showing you. So you just 9-3 with this schedule could be good enough.
Especially if Michigan makes a run to be like a Big Ten champion, and if that's one loss and the Georgia loss ends up being a loss to the SEC champ or something, so like who knows how things are going to go. But I mean, it feels like there's certainly I think if you go 10-2 in this schedule, you're walking into the CFP.
Oh yeah. You
don't you? I mean, I think. I mean, this is a brand new thing for for all of us, right?
Yeah.
I think 2 losses against that schedule it just has you dancing right into that deal as an SEC 2-loss team.
So Alex, let's do this one. So we're I think you and I are both at 9-3, which is all right. For as opposite as I think we are so similar as far as that is concerned. Let's go to a couple of categories here because Texas, as you know, is losing a lot at receiver, right? So we know Xavier Worthy is gone. We're expecting Adonai Mitchell to leave. He hasn't made an official announcement yet, so who knows if there's a small window or door that's open there, but let's assume for the sake of the conversation that Adonai is gone, and of course Jordan Whittington is gone. If all those happen,
what about Jatavion?
Let's just assume that.
He's gone.
Let's assume that. Let's assume he's gone. All right, just for the sake of the conversation. Who is your leading receiver in 2024?
Jonte Cook.
Really? Yeah. Over Golden?
Yes.
Oh, wait, why is that? Go for it.
I mean, I'm not like I'm not convinced at this. And like I said, man, like like Blake will go through and erase this later if I'm totally wrong. But I'm not so convinced that Matthew Golden's biggest contribution to this team won't be as a kick returner and as a punt returner. That's what Sark praised him about the most, right? I mean, we're talking about a guy. Has he ever crested 500 yards as a wide receiver yet?
No, I don't believe so.
I mean, he's a good player. He's fast. He's a better kick returner than he is a wide receiver. And look, Jonte Cook he was the clear number 4 guy this year. He's an awesome 5-star prospect. You have to be reminded of how sick he is. You can just go back and watch the spring game, right? And he was so good. He was so far in front of the other guys this year that he would go in for Xavier Worthy at the Z, and that's his natural position, right? But anytime anything will happen with 80, because how a player will get like a deep shot and he'll get like a pass interference or something like that, and he'll kind of fall down and they'll take him off to the sideline and a new wide receiver will go in for him for a couple plays, right? Well, anytime that happened with A.D. Mitchell this year, that the guy who would go in for him wasn't his natural backup, which was Casey Kane, right? It was always Jonte who went in. So Jonte's played X, he's played Z. They like him at both those spots. So Matthew Golden, you figure, is going to come. He's going to have to play Z. He's not going to play X, right? Golden's going to come in, and if he wants to slot in somewhere, it'll be where Xavier Worthy played this season. Now, if that's the case, you move Jonte to X, probably DeAndre Moore in the slot or whatever. But then you have coming in, you have some guy like you told me that Ryan Wingo is not going to be competition at the X.
Yeah,
talking about another 5-star, and like if he's at the X, that means Jonte's at Z, and I think Jonte's better than Golden. So it's like, I mean, there could be a squeeze there unless he wants to move to slot or something like that. You have there are other guys. I mean, there are other like fast guys. They're good players coming in, right? So I'm not sure Texas is done at wide receiver.
Yes, correct.
What if Texas gets Ryan Williams? KJ Lacey's teammate. You know what I mean? Like there are all kinds of scenarios where I'm just like, I'm not one of these guys that's going to just crown Matthew Golden as some kind of deal where he's going to be this team's best receiver, a guy that played on Houston last year. Whenever you got Jonte Cook, who's every time he's gotten an opportunity has shown out, who we've seen it. Like I've seen Jonte with my own 2 eyes. Like it's like the whole, like Ketch always says, the Tommy boy, it's got the guarantee on the box. So like, I'm not saying he's a guarantee, but I'm saying I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. I know what I have in that guy. I know he's sick. I haven't seen Matthew Golden live. I don't know. Could he be awesome? Maybe, but I'm going to go with what I know. And take the bird in hand and say Jonte Cook, and feel really, really good about saying Jonte Cook because I know what an unbelievable prospect he is.
Yeah, it's so interesting you said it out. It's wide open as wide open can be as far as what that looks like. Listen, which I love Jonte. I think this year next year will be his year, his time to shine, and love everything about him. The golden thing, I won't discount too much, but I do agree with you. The sneaky one is a Ryan Wingo, because here's one thing we know, Alex, is that when Xavier Worthy stepped on campus a few years ago, he pretty much was the number one guy, right?
Yeah, man.
And Sark didn't shy away from
It
him.
was a Kelvin Banks. It was a Kelvin Banks, a Zay Worthy. Like some of these guys, when he brings them in, these highly recruited dudes, sometimes he's just like, I mean, just get in there.
Yeah,
like,
go play.
Yeah.
Like you're my guy. Like I don't care. And Xavier Worthy came in and stepped in, and so Ryan Wingo could be that guy, Alex. When he steps on campus, he might be that guy that Sark says, "Yep, you're a 5-star. Yep, you're playing day one, and I don't give a damn. And you'll be here for 3 years and gone, right?" So I wouldn't. I love your Jonte pick. And I love the dark horse sources, that could be behind him. What about the other position? Interesting, Alex, because I know I was a guy that kept saying beforehand, like, man, it's hard to replace Bijan. It's hard to replace Roshan. And you guys who think you're going to do that, you're smoking crack. Well, then Jonathan Brooks comes along. It was the best running back in the nation until he gets hurt. So now if we go into 2024, you got CJ Baxter. You've got Jaden Blue, right? So you've got those guys. But then you also got the guys who are coming in, the Christian Clarks, the Jarrett Gibson as well. Trey Wisner is in the room. So I feel like Sark is at plug and play at this moment for running back. For me, I'm not going to doubt him that he's going to have a 1,000-yard rusher, because Jonathan Brooks would have had that had he not had the injury. So who would be the guy for you? Are you going to go CJ Baxter, or are you going to go Jaden Blue?
Jonathan Brooks got to 1,000 yards though, right?
Did he? I thought he came a little short, but maybe I'm wrong.
I thought I remember us having a celebration on my show of
you might be right. You might be right. Actually,
getting
Alan.
there.
You might be right. Hold on, I think you might be right. Hold on 1 second. You're right. 1,139. Right. You are correct, Alex.
Yeah.
What could he have had he not got?
It could have been a monster. Yeah, I mean, it kind of was a monster anyway, right?
Yeah.
Dude, what my eyes say and what my heart says is different than what my brain kind of says, and my brain says that, my brain says that Sark's gonna ride CJ Baxter to that 1,000 yards. He's gonna cram him up in there, even though I think Jaden Blue's kind of look better. Like, yeah. I don't know if you feel the same way over the course of the last kind of half of this season, but man, Blue looks like a complete back to me. Now I just wonder. I think to be able to hold up at the SEC level, and look, this is not gospel, right? Because we've seen at the SEC level guys like Devon Achane weigh 183 pounds and be able to run between the tackles and play in the SEC and be good players that get drafted and go into the NFL. Now in the NFL, we've seen Achane can't stay healthy to save his life doing what he was doing in college. So it feels like he was a little bit of an outlier, but I think Blue needs to put on 10 pounds this offseason. I think if he puts on 10 pounds this offseason, gets himself up to that Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey was only about 201 coming out, right? Some of these guys, I said on my show the other day, I do prefer. I call it the Trey Mason Dixon line, right? Trey Mason, if you remember him, or guys like Devontae Freeman, this type of player that I kind of like him to be 205, 206. As far as NFL prospects. But I think if you're down at the 199 to 201, I think that's kind of fine to be a featured bell cow college back at the highest level. But I believe Blake looked this up for me the other day on the show, but I believe they had Jaden Blue this year at 190. Was it 191? 190? Yeah, Blake's shaking his head, yes. So I think maybe 8 10 pounds out of that guy in the offseason. We've seen how good he is with his hands. We've seen what an all-around back he is. I just wonder the fact that he has been like such a good wide receiver or such a good receiver out of the backfield this year. If Sark might sort of see Baxter and Blue as a bit of a thunder and lightning combo, right? To where Blue might not get quite as much work between the tackles in order to get him that 1,000 yards rushing, whereas he would see Baxter as his hammer, who he might be able to get there. But I mean, if we're up to me, just by the eyeball test alone, I'd say Blue's just the leading. What should I say? The leading offensive weapon from the running back position. But I think from a pure rushing yard standpoint, it might still be Baxter.
Yeah, it's interesting, Alex, because when you look at the numbers, it backs what you're saying and backs what I think, right? Jaden Blue averaged 6.1 yards per carry, and CJ Baxter was at 4.8, right? So, I mean, it looked like when Jaden Blue got the ball, it was electric. Like you just felt it. Like something
better cutbacks, like more like better vision, better stuff, but he's just not the bruiser that he's not the bruiser that Baxter is. He doesn't run behind his pads the same way. And but the vision and the creativity and the ability to create really makes up for it. But it's a tough question because it's on where I think it doesn't even matter as much what you and I think is. It just matters what Sark thinks.
Sark thinks. yeah. But you know what? Hey, he may think it, but something may happen. I mean, look, he thought CJ Baxter was his number one back, and it ended up being that Jonathan Brooks was the better option when it was all said and done. So I mean, something can be said was maybe CJ was banged up, so on and so forth. But sometimes a guy steps up, and I just think eyeball test, and there may be other things, right? There may be the total package. But Alex, when it was said and done, and we were watching the final moments of that game versus Washington, Jaden Blue was on the field. Okay, so I mean, there's something to be said that hey, Sark will also recognize that there's a lot of value in Jaden Blue. I mean, he's the guy that took the check down and got out of bounds. So there's something to be said that I think I wouldn't discount Jaden Blue being the number one guy. I'll go with Blue when it's all said and done, because I think eventually the cream always rises, to the top, and I think he'll rise to the top when it's all said and done.
Fair enough.
What do you think about Let's do it. Let's do a couple of more before we start talking about like the game this weekend, or I guess the game on Monday. I'm fascinated by this thought process here. Obviously, Alex, as we record this, I keep saying record, but as we're talking, Trill Carter announced that he's going in the transfer portal. Today.
Buddy.
So he's out. And so not the biggest loss, I would say, when it's all said and done, in my opinion. And we had to start thinking.
It opens up the door for so much other stuff, cool stuff to happen. It's great.
We know we went from Keandre to Morrow. We've got Tivandre to Byron Murphy. Murphy says he's going to enter into the draft. We know Tivandre's gone. Who are your starting defensive tackles in 2024, Alex?
Well, I mean, but by your reporting last night, it feels like Alfred Collins is expected to, is at least expected as of now to come back. So that's big time. I mean, obviously him, he played great in this. He played great in the bowl game. And is he a downgrade from? Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked before. This team's going to have a new identity next year anyway. It's not going to be the monsters in the middle of the defense. It's going to start out, we're going to start out spring, which is going to be Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton. Now, Vernon Broughton hasn't been good, so he's going to need to be pushed. And I would say that the best way to push him would, look, you got guys like Jerry Bledsoe, who people will talk about, Aaron Bryan, who people will talk about. I think Sidney Mitchell, when he was able to play this season, now it was only 10 snaps during the regular season, 4 snaps in the Big 12 championship game. But dude, all that guy does is make run stuffs and get in on tackles. And he's a big monster. And Bo Davis coaches him hard as hell. And that these players, the coaches coach hard as hell, and that they're the hardest on are the players that they have the highest expectations of. I think that this is a player who came in and he was, he's big and he wasn't very buttoned up with the way that he presented physically. And, after a year in the program, kind of getting in a little bit better shape, I think that Sidney Mitchell could really be a guy who comes in and raises eyebrows this spring simply because of the fact that Vernon Broughton's not good. He just, he just hasn't been good yet. And by now he should have been good, Aaron Bryant has been a net negative producer whenever he's played. Now it's too early to kind of say for him that he's not good, like we can say about Vernon Broughton and we can say about Trill Carter. Like I said in my column, man, Trill Carter's not good. He's just not good. Like sometimes you just need to say these things. And Vernon Broughton so far has not been good. Could he be better? Maybe. Maybe. I said at one point that Christian Jones wasn't good. So I mean, clearly I can be wrong. But everything we've seen so far indicates that Vernon Broughton probably is not going to. He's probably a descending player that needs to make room for somebody else to step up. So what I think it's going to be is Collins and Broughton to start, and I think that Sidney Mitchell at some point probably takes over for Broughton, and they say like, well, this looks better, and I think it's Collins and Sidney Mitchell, but it won't be that to start.
Is there? I'm curious if Collins and Broughton are the starting two. Who's the top numbers, the top backup for that position in your opinion?
It's one of the two between Broughton and Sidney Mitchell.
Okay.
That's just the way I lean now. And I see Cody in the chat saying DeAndre, who's coming in, and I have high hopes for him. I just can't, the last freshman I can remember just getting a bunch of run had to have been, what would it have been, Byron Murphy 3 years ago? I mean, Mitchell didn't get much run this year. Aaron Bryant got more run than Mitchell this year. Aaron Bryant got like 33 snaps on the season or something like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. They say Alex January is going to be kind of come in at 6'5", 320. That's much bigger than I'd imagined for him. Wow. So I had to kind of go back over my evaluation for him. So that would be an interesting piece, man. But I really do have high hopes for Sidney Mitchell. But I think that it'll be the rotation as far as what we see to start. It'll be 95 and 45, right? And then. But here's the thing, Anwar. Neither of those guys profiles as a more of a pure nose, right?
Yeah.
They both profile. Collins technically profiles as a guy that can play the 4-eye, the 4, the 5, or the 3 technique. He doesn't profile as a nose or a shade. Vernon Broughton certainly doesn't. I mean, you have him in there, and he's got to play the 3 technique, and you got to move Trill down into the nose. Watch the short yardage touchdown in the Washington game from whenever those two were in there, and just watch how those guys get rolled. So honestly, it makes me think more about Sidney. You get a guy in there that's a 340-pound monster that's at the nose, get Collins next to him. That makes things easier for Collins. Yeah. So I think that they'll find out pretty quick that you're not gonna want that particular pairing of those two guys, because what they do is the way that they fit into the defense is somewhat redundant.
Let's do one more, Alice, and then we'll talk about the Monday's game. Let's just do if we had a way too early prediction, our last way too early prediction. If we had to go freshman of the year, of all the incoming freshmen, it's going to be a lot of guys. What did Sark say? How many guys did he say is going to be? Did he say about 20 guys on campus?
Yeah, 20 out of 24.
and one of the guys
it's just the new normal.
Yeah. I mean, and one guy is like the punter who's not going to be here, right? So like Mike Kern, so there's only like 3 other guys, and everybody else steps on campus. Everybody else gets an entire all-season workout. If you had a way too early prediction on freshman of the year, who's the guy that Alex loves?
I mean, it's the chalk. It's Colin Simmons.
It's that simple.
Yeah, man. It just is. It's Colin Simmons. I love Colin Simmons. It's a position. Look, Texas gotten better at edge rush every single year that Sark and PK have been here. That's going to be the same next year, and you just know it's going to be the same next year. Not the same as this year. It's going to be the same, where it's going to be a step forward, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be because of Moore, and it's going to be because of Simmons.
I'm with you 100% on that one. I'm with you on that. I think. Because I think Colin comes into a position of need. for this defense automatically. Like, I think the other guys, I know people saying like the Kobe Blacks and the Wingos. I see Blake saying that in the chats, and I just think if those guys come in and ball out, it's a luxury. But I think Colin Simmons balling out is a necessity for this defense. And Alex, I'm sure you have all the pass rush numbers, and we don't have to go deep into it, but the edge guys, were seemingly hit or miss, right, for most of 2023. In your opinion, Alice, is that fair?
Better? I mean, better, but just not. I mean, and like Ethan Burke shows up in big spots, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like Baron Sorrell's out here tweeting out that he's like some silly emoji that's like thinking about a decision. Like, that guy's not going pro. Like, it's I mean, Texas needs more out of its edge rush, and I think everybody knows it. So yeah, man, it's like Colin Simmons is your best recruit, and he plays that position. It's like he's gonna be the best freshman.
Yeah. All right, let's get into Monday's game. Blake, you got the graphic up of as far as what some of the things that we could use on PrizePicks. Alex, you've already been able to see everything Washington related. I got to see it firsthand. You've probably watched the game a billion times, so I know exactly all about those receivers.
I'm done watching that game, Onwar. I've gotten my fill, man. I've gotten my fill watching that sky cam of that game these last 3 days.
So you got Penix, Alex, at a 300 passing. I felt like he had that in the first half versus Texas, and then JJ McCarthy. Any of these things move you at all, Alex?
I'm looking. I can't. I'm just. All right. So here's how I play it. Okay. Here's how I play it. I'm going to say that. Let's just first talk about. All right. So in fantasy, what do you want to you want to correlate plays, and to correlate plays, you have to tell yourself a story, right, about how this game's going to go. Mm-hmm. I think this game can go one of two ways, and I talked about this with Cody on our Final Take show on Football with Friends yesterday. This game to me is one where either Blake Corum goes nuts and takes the air out of the football and dominates, and Michigan dominates time of possession, and simply doesn't give Washington enough possessions to where they can have their peak game from all these guys, right? Mm-hmm. If you think the game goes like that, just take the Blake Corum on the more and take the less on the Penix pass yards, right? If you think that this is a game where they're going to have to be like, where Michigan is going to have to be like Texas kind of was, where Texas, I wrote this in my column today, Texas had some of the most beautifully blocked run designs that I've seen all year in this game last week, right? When they were running the ball, Onward, you were there. Close your eyes and remember some of those zone lanes. Some of Texas's best plays during those drives, the critical drive extending plays, were runs. Good runs with big time cutbacks from Jaden Blue. If CJ Baxter just on some still power and man gap stuff, right? So, but Texas wasn't allowed to keep doing that, right? You can't you can't fight precision drone strikes with small arms fire. You have to go back at them in the same way, right? You have to with the Boomers you have to kind of abandon the run. And so if you think that Penix is going to, and that's a big boy number for Corum, 105.5.
Yeah.
The way I'm playing this is I am saying if Corum's going over, I'm taking the less on the Penix and all the rest of them. If I think Penix does what Penix does, I'm taking him. What are the receivers? I'm correlating the Penix more with the receiving yards more for Rome Odunze. I'm gonna pair it with the more for Jalen McMillan and Polk. Both are pretty. Polk looks pretty low at 57.5. Just pick the guy who you want out of those guys. I'm picking Rome. Okay, I'm gonna correlate it with the Blake Corum less and the Roman Wilson more, because it'll mean that as they're having to abandon the run, they're gonna have JJ McCarthy goes to his safety blanket. Dependable as can be, good old trusty Roman Wilson for the more there. And we've seen him have games much, much, much bigger than this at 51.5 receiving yards. So that's the way I would do it. That's the way I would do it. Now, here's the thing. I don't know which way the game's going to go. And so the good thing is on PrizePicks, those correlation plays we've talked about, just kind of picking a game script and saying, okay, telling yourself a story. If this, then this. If we do that, we can make 2 entries and say put a $20 entry and put in 5 picks along with it. And if that thing hits, you make, what, $400 or $500, right? Then put in another $20 entry and have it go the opposite way. And if it goes the opposite way and your script works and you happen to get lucky with the various mores or lesses, then you make your money that way. But you've put in $40 for a chance at 400 to 500, and you're giving yourself 2 outs with 2 different game scripts that you've correlated. That's how I'm playing it.
Yeah, and again, just do it today. do it on Flex Friday, and if you do it on a Flex Friday, then you drop $20, and if you're wrong, if you're unsure of yourself, you just get your $20 back and then call it a day.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free. And literally, they just gave you a free entry. And of course, if you use the promo code Orangebloods, you get a deposit match up to $100. Alice, we got that. You got anything before we go? We got any NFL stuff for us?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the motivations. I mean, they only really have the motivation guys up right now. But as I'm looking at it, number 1 wide receivers versus Washington have been Yahtzee all year. It's almost without fail. CeeDee Lamb coming off his absolute monster game versus Detroit. Now 92.5 as far as his receiving yards, more or less here. To me, feels like that's going to be one that I started out with. In fact, I wonder if CeeDee Lamb has how they have what do they have now? The Demons and the Goblins. I wonder if he has a Goblin of like 125 or something that I could pick here. Let's see.
Let me see. I'm looking right now. See.
No, they don't even give you the option of a Goblin because they know he's going to hit it, right?
Yeah, so, he's at 92.5 right now.
Yeah, I mean that's just a.
I think the Goblin one is it the one with the horns?
Yeah.
Yeah, that at the rushing and receiving TDs, they got him at 0.5.
That's a Goblin?
Yeah.
I would take that. But I just
that little green thing, that's the Goblin, right?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking for a demon. I want a demon. I want one where I want one where it's higher than it should be. Because I think he's going to go way over.
Okay, gotcha.
Everybody does versus Washington, and Ron Rivera is a Sunday night fire. Like he's gonna get fired Sunday night. This thing's over, dude. This thing's done. This team's folded. It's done. It's just this is it, right? And the Cowboys have to play. The only way that CeeDee Lamb doesn't get there is if they look up at the scoreboard and they see for some reason that Philly. I guess if they get way ahead, maybe they can rest dudes, right? But who's Philly playing?
I have to look. Let me see.
It's somebody bad.
Oh, I got you.
The Giants. So.
Oh yeah.
Maybe they could. I don't think that they're gonna. So they're not gonna look up at the scoreboard and see that the Giants are beating Philly. Right. I think the only way that they take out the starters is if they get way up. So, I mean, that's one thing to keep in mind with some of the motivation. Make sure and be careful about that this week. I think the game with the most motivation where everybody's just going completely all out is going to be Houston-Indy, right? That's the most motivated game of the week, I think. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. And I say CeeDee Lamb's a GOAT, man. Just go ahead and pick the more on him. You'd have done well just picking the more on him in most games this season.
All right, Alice, that's it. That's all we got.
Yeah, I haven't taken too deep a look yet.
That's all right. No, it's good. It's good. Well, hey, last time use that promo code Orangebloods. They will match you up to $100. You drop $100, you get another $100. You got $200 to work with. Use some of Alex's picks, and then hey, drop $20 every Friday for the rest of your life, and you will be able to play and enjoy yourself. Like how easy is that, Alex? Come on, man.
This is easy as can be, man. Easy like Sunday morning.
Well, Alex and I are about to head out. We're the only ones that made it to the finish line. This actually ends up being our final Prize Picks show for the 2023 season. But we'll be back next season with more Prize Picks. They've already let us know, Alex, they're extending us.
Oh yeah, we got the extension.
We
Nice.
got the extension. We've got the extension now.
We got our extension before Sark got his.
So we'll be back next season, right around July, August, something like that. Give you some more things. Alex will be back with his preseason picks. Oh, those are going to be a doozy. So, but make sure you check out Alex's show for everything else Prize Picks related, because Alex loves Prize Picks. Prize Picks is going to go ahead and just break off Alex individually. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But for Alex, for Blake, and for everybody else, Jason Suckerbell, obviously Jeff Ketchum, who've been on the show all year long, but just couldn't be here at the very end. We appreciate you. One more time, use the promo code Orangebloods. They will match your deposits up to $100. Go enjoy your weekend. Go get great and go get rich.